appreciate the opportunity to be here. Working on a connected vehicle project seems like a good place to be at the Connected Communities Conference to talk about that. So thanks for the opportunity to be here. We're really excited about this project. We've been working on it for about 3 years now. And we really feel like it's one of those landmark kind of projects that can really make a big impact in how we manage traffic and how we interact with our roadway users. So before I get too much into it, by show of hands, how many people have heard of connected vehicles before today? Okay, that's good. I figured from here. Now, how many people have heard of autonomous vehicles? A little different. Yeah, it's a few more people. Yeah, AVs tend to be a little sexier. I guess right now they got a better marketing campaign than we have with connected vehicles. But I'm hoping that will show some awesomeness for what's going on with that today. Quick definition for those who don't know sort of what connected vehicles is. It's a method of connecting wirelessly, obviously, your vehicle to the infrastructure around you so that we can share information. And the intent to make your travels safer, more efficient. It's not a means to connect you so we can send you speeding tickets or anything like that. So, right. Just trying to head off those questions before they happen later. First, a little history of how we got where we are. Way back in 2017, which sounds weird to say, but way back in 2017, we partnered with North Carolina Department of Transportation on what is known as the Spat Challenge. Spat is a terrible acronym, but it stands for signal phasing and timing, so it does have a purpose. And this was sort of a fun initiative that was where state government DOTs were challenged to install connected vehicle devices at 20 intersections somewhere in their state, and to use what is known as DSRC, which is dedicated short-range radio communication, in order to make that connection. SPAT is kind of a simple application, so using sort of something simple to demonstrate that it works helps bridge that gap. It's a chicken and the egg kind of thing with connected vehicles. It's, those of us who are practitioners, are we going to put it out there if there aren't vehicles that can actually use it, and vice versa with the automotive manufacturers? Are they willing to put it out there if there's really nothing to send information to it? So NCDOT asked us to participate with them. We're happy to help. We're close by, and we have a great relationship with them. So we selected 20 intersections in Cary, in the western side of town, along NC 55 and High House Road. So we sort of went about it a little bit differently from other folks. We actually invited in somewhere 7 or 8 different vendors in order to try their products. Gave them a handful of intersections for them to work on. The group of us, which includes the town of Cary, NCDOT, and their consultant Aegis, partnered up to put them through a battery of tests, testing things like functionality, interoperability, ease of use, and accuracy, just to really see where we were and which vendors we really wanted to test to kind of give us a really good look at what was possible. After we scored everything, we selected 2 vendors, started over on the same corridor, had them put in their devices. They've been operational since 2018. They're still out there today. We do still occasionally monitor them. They seem to be functioning fairly well. But one of the things we realized as we're going through it is the use of DSRC requires a roadside unit to send information and an onboard unit to receive it, for the most part, inside the vehicle. And we have this photo of all these boxes and devices and wires and cables in our vehicles as we're trying to test all these to check on interoperability. And we really thought about it's difficult to convince folks, to go out there and put a device in your vehicle that's possibly going to be tracking you and sending out information about you. We thought that was a pretty steep hill to climb. And doing that, we're really limiting ourselves to who's going to be a part of this program and this process, and who can actually benefit from this type of information that we thought was very valuable. So one of the vendors in the SPAT challenge actually didn't use DSRC. They used cellular communication, so cellular radio communication. And what that did was instead of sending information from the intersection directly to a box in your car, which would then have to send information to something like a tablet or to the screen in your vehicle. Skipped that part, sent the information directly to an onboard unit that all of us have, that pretty much everybody in the room right now probably has on them at the moment, and that's your smartphone. So through cellular communication, the intersection is actually talking to the cellular network, and that's coming back and talking to your phone directly. So you aren't limited to the car you're driving in, you're limited to the person carrying that, which also allows that connected system to be usable for not just motorists, but also cyclists and pedestrians as well. I had slides. I'm not sure if they made it to you guys or not. I had slides. They were fun slides too, but I don't know. Is it this one? I wasn't told that. It's a simple process. I don't think it's working. Okay. I'm not colorblind, so I think that's the green one, right? Okay. They were awesome slides. I've used them before. They're really good. So onto our current project. So the information that we gained from the Spat challenge, we pulled that forward. We really wanted a cellular-based system that we can do not just Spat, that has kind of limited applications, but we want to do a lot of different things with it. I'll talk a little bit more about some of those features in a minute, but we really want a system that was app-based, that was audible, gave audible notifications to folks. And again, that wasn't just limited to motorists, but also to those interactions between motorists and pedestrians, motorists and cyclists, that we also felt could be beneficial for our community as it grows, and we're starting to see more and more people using those other modes of travel. We also wanted to not just select a small corridor or a section of town, we wanted to go network-wide. We felt like if we're going to provide this benefit, we need to have everybody to really experience it, and that way we can know how it impacts people in a variety of ways, in a variety of different environments, which, comes with a hefty investment, and we realize that. So we look for opportunities to fund a program like this, and we work with our local MPO, Campo, which is here in Raleigh, a couple blocks over. They were very supportive. We had a capital project that we had funded already to upgrade the equipment at our intersections in order to do some advanced analytics on the edge anyway. So we figured we can take that money and leverage it. And we turned a $400,000 project into a $2 million project. Allows us to do, again, a network-wide and a very robust program. We also partnered with the folks around us, our neighboring municipalities, to look at the benefits we can have with partnering with them. So where we are with our program is actually starting to touch other municipalities already. Got a lot of support from Campo and from NCDOT on the project. DOT was very instrumental in helping us with some of the technical aspects of it, and it was also contracting because it was a sophisticated contract we had to put together given the funding type we had and the kind of project we were having. So I appreciate everything they did for us in that. So some of the program features, we've got 6 here that we'll talk about. So with traveler information is sort of the more touchstone. It's that piece that most people will see. I'll talk about those in just a second, but some of the other features that we had that we feel will impact everybody, even if nobody downloads the app and run it on their phone. We'll be utilizing a GPS-based emergency vehicle preemption system. We have a current emergency vehicle preemption system, EVP, I'll use that, it's much easier, that allows emergency services, so fire trucks and police and ambulances, to get a green light so their response times can be improved. The current systems are okay. GPS-based is significantly much improved, superior to them. So we'll be guaranteeing green time for 25 of our fire apparatus that we've installed devices on. So we're very excited about that. 2 of the applications that I'm most excited about are pedestrian notification and school zone notifications. Again, it's a growing community that's embracing more modes of travel in a suburban environment like Cary has. Pedestrian notification is exceptionally important, and we're starting to hear that more and more, especially with the almost 90 miles of greenway trails we have that interweave itself through town. Being able to notify drivers that there's a pedestrian either in a mid-block crosswalk or that's on the corner at a signalized intersection waiting across the street, while you're waiting for your gap in traffic, we think will be monumental when it comes to protecting pedestrians that are in the crosswalk. So we're excited to see that. School zone flashers as well. We have school zone flashers at all of our school zones. Can't really tell you how effective they are at actually slowing anybody down. We have 90 devices for over 30 schools. Right now, we don't communicate with them. They're all sort of operating on their own. So installing these devices will do a couple of things. It'll allow an audible notification for you as you enter into a school zone, but it'll also notify you if you're speeding in that school zone as well. Secondly, it gives us access to those devices. All of our flashers are solar powered, so we'll get notifications if the battery is failing, if the solar energy is not adequate, if it's been knocked down and we need to fix it and put it back up. So a couple really cool things. Also, it allows easily for us to adjust the school zone times as well. If there's an early release or a late arrival, some of our neighboring municipalities are using that already. So we're happy to be partnering with them on that as well. Transit signal priority will be something fun that we're doing with our transit group, Go Carry. We're installing devices on 5 buses. And transit signal priority is a little bit different than preemption. What it does is if a bus is a little bit behind schedule, it notifies the system that they are running behind schedule, and we'll give them a little bit of extra green time to try to get them back to where they need to be. So we'll see improved traveler and arrival time as well. Lastly, railroads. Obviously, many of the municipalities in this area are based around railroads, so there's a lot of train tracks everywhere, and they kind of break up our travel. So notifying folks when gates are down, particularly when they're down for an extended period of time, allows people to navigate around those more easily, maybe choose different routes instead of heading through that area. So we can notify people well in advance of where those closures are, and they can pick different routes in order to get themselves through downtown, say, for example. So the vendor we chose is Applied Information. They go by AI, but that can be confusing, so I just usually use Applied Information. Their system, their platform is known as Glance, and the app they use is known as Travel Safely. And Travel Safely is that connection between, really is that communication connection to any of the users. Within the app, again, all audible notifications, so you're not having to look at the screen, although there is a screen, and it has information, but any information you need is delivered to you audibly. Within the app, you can be contacted of kind of simple, like again, Spat information, like how much time until the green light comes up, which is useful for those people who like to check their email or their text while they're waiting at a red light. So you're not the one holding everybody up. Red light warning as well, that's very effective. I've noticed that as well in my use of it. Again, school zone warnings, pedestrian warnings, and emergency vehicle warnings come straight into the app as well to notify you. A really cool thing about the EVP is that if there's a fire truck coming up behind you, it will tell you there's a fire truck coming from behind you in your vehicle. So you don't have to worry about, if you're listening to some of your favorite music and it's quite loud, you don't have to worry about hearing that siren coming up for you. It will calm the music down, give you that notification, but don't worry, it'll return your music right back to level 11 like you'd like it. Work zones as well, we can notify you of existing work zones, lane closures, road closures. We can do those in advance of and during the projects. Other ancillary things like curve warnings, speeding warnings in general, just like in school zones, we can do other speed zones as well. And then cyclist warnings, that's one we're interested in testing out too, is if you're a driver and you're possibly speeding and you're approaching a cyclist, you and the cyclist will be notified as well. So everything sounds great, sounds wonderful. I had a really nerd-based drawing here about how data flows everywhere, which I thought would be applicable to this group. There's a lot of acronyms associated with it. Really, when we talk about the communication, they come in different packets. So we have what's known as BSM, or as a basic safety message. And that's the information that your car, through your phone, which my phone's over there for once, your phone is sharing that information back and forth. It is giving velocity, but it's also giving headings, and it's giving deceleration and acceleration, and that helps with a lot of those features to notify you. There is personal safety messages, which is for individuals. So if you're walking around, if you're riding a bike, that's sending a personal safety message. There's things known as map data, which is exactly like it sounds. It's geographic information that shows your location. And then Spat as well is one of the last things. But One of again, everything sounds great, but one of those drawbacks to it is that everything does flow through the cellular cloud. So our infrastructure is communicating with the cellular network. Your phone, your OBU, is also communicating. So there's increased latency within a system like this as compared to DSRC. Going into that, we realize it, and many of the features, actually all the features that we're using are not dependent on super low latency. These are, our attempt is really to give the driver information they need to make a good decision, and not to prevent that bad decision from happening, so that super low level of latency right now in the applications we're using, we didn't feel was going to be necessary. But we do really, even though we're spending $2 million and we're doing this network-wide, we in Cary really still feel like this is a pilot project for us. And that there are features that we see that aren't working, we're willing to scrap those things. So we're going into it knowing that there may be some things that we just might have to do without. So as for the project itself, we started back in the summer, middle of the summer. And right now we have 219 signalized intersections in town. We have devices installed at all of them. They're all functional, not fully functional. We're still testing some of those features, but we are at every single location that we need to be with signalized intersections. We have installed all of our devices for our emergency vehicle preemptions as well, and we expect to turn the EVP system on imminently this week or next week, probably next week. For the pedestrian crossings in the school zones, we had a little snafu with our wiring harnesses based on the specific devices that we had. So what our vendors been great, and the contractors, they've been working to modify those wiring harnesses. It always comes down to the little 10-cent part. So we're having those corrected, and those should be, over this month and into January, those should be installed. We have, again, I think we have 15 of these pedestrian crossings, and we have 90 school zone flashers that we're looking at. TSP, or transit signal priority, will be coming up soon as well, and the railroad crossing should follow. That's probably going to be the last thing we do. That one is a safety issue. We got to make sure we get that one solid. So we had 12 months on the calendar to get the project done. We should be wrapping up in May. We should wrap up in May. We'll be done before that. So last thing I wanted to say, a program like this, there's a lot of features that can exist on their own and can function with us internally. But really the point is to help people who are driving around and realize it. We'll be helping people by guaranteeing green lights for emergencies, by keeping that bus on time, by making sure our school zone flashers are working right. We'll be doing those things. But for you as a driver, we really need really good app saturation. So that's marketing. That's getting the message out. We're starting a robust marketing campaign. We're not putting it out there until pretty much everything's ready to go. But we're always open. I'm sure there's super smart people in this room, smarter than me, that can help out with how we do marketing, how we continue to market to folks to advertise the app and get this onto as many people's phones as possible. So with that, I'm all done. So I'm happy for everybody.